All right, I guess let's get into it. I'm going to give you some thoughts about how I saw things and how I interpreted things from the PlayStation Showcase 2023. And I wrote all the games list down and some thoughts on them. Just some quick thoughts on them. And we're just going to go over it. So let's just dive right into it. The first thing that Sony decided to open the show with was a game called Fair Games. Now, it's a PS5 and PC game, so it's not even exclusive. But it looks like it's going to be like some sort of live service game, possibly like a maybe like a Destiny or maybe like an Apex. It's like it looked like it was a trio based maybe extraction type shooter, could possibly be I don't really know. It was a CGI trailer, so that's pretty much the most detail we have about what it actually is. There was no release date. It's a CGI trailer. I don't really have too much thoughts on it. So we'll move to the next one. The next one was Helldivers. Now this one here, I like that they are showing Helldivers some love, but there are some things that are a little concerning. So it's going to be a PS5 and PC release. So again, not exclusive. 2023, but it said 2023, but they didn't actually give a release date. It just said 2023. It looked like it might be some sort of live service as well. Some of the concerning things, it looked beautiful, but some of the concerning things is it looked like it was in 30 frames a second. That's an issue. I mean, come on. That's an issue with the hardware that we have. 30 frames is not acceptable on any platform except Nintendo because their hardware can't handle it, obviously. But they're not putting out games like this on the Nintendo Switch, so kind of goes, without saying. But aside from that, they switched now from Helldivers being a top-down RTS type or action RPG, I'm not really too sure, to a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter. If it's almost like Sony was hearing what people were saying about that's their niche, and they just leaned into it. They said, oh yeah, well, we own this one here, and it's a completely different genre, but now we're going to turn it into a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter. So, I mean, it had very little details as well. Didn't give an actual release date. It looked pretty decent, though, but unacceptable if it's 30 frames. Moving on, it's an EA Originals. Now, I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything like this. If there has been like EA Originals in the past, please leave it down below. Let me know. But this is the first time I'm seeing this, and I seen something on Assassin's Creed Mirage where it said a Ubisoft original. So I'm not sure what these publishers are doing, but I'm kind of curious what EA Originals means. But the game is Immortals of Avium. It's a third-party game. It's not first-party to Sony. We got some gameplay. It don't look bad. It don't look bad. Does it look like it's going to be like a game of the year contender? In my opinion, I don't think, but I could be wrong. But it looked very, very good. It looked beautiful. First-person magic shooter type game. So we'll see what happens when it lands. It's supposed to come out in July, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Moving on to that one, they brought out Ghost Runners 2. Not a first-party game. It's a third-party game. It looked really good, but I don't really have too much to say about that. Moving on from that is one of the highlights of the show, in my opinion. It's a game called Phantom Blade Zero, or just could be Phantom Blade. I don't know what the zero is for. I don't know if they're actually going to implement that into the name. They didn't really say. That looked like it was 60 frames a second, so that's a very good sign. The animations on the game looked really, really good. Aesthetically, graphically, it looked solid. And it says that it's coming to PS5. There was a lot of verbiage, a lot of words that were used in this showcase that is just very, very confusing. There was not one thing that I saw, not one game that I saw come up and said exclusive to PS5. I I don't know if that's what the goal is they're just going to port everything to the PC, so it's pointless to say exclusive to PS5 anymore or exclusive to any platform, but nothing said exclusive to PS5 from what I've seen. I could be wrong, maybe Spider-Man said it, but I doubt it. But yeah, Phantom Blade Zero, it looked really good, but there was no release date. It didn't say 2023, it didn't say nothing. So, I don't know. Nothing to really get excited about. It's just nice potential. But moving on from that, we got an artistic type game I put down here called Sword of the Sea. And it also says that it's coming to PS5. It didn't say any kind of release date. At least I didn't write it down here. So I don't think that it said or gave a release date. Artistic. That's pretty much what I have to say about it. Moving on from that, the Talos Principle 2, I think it was. It looks very good, but it's also third party. It's not a first party game. This is supposed to be a PlayStation showcase. See, this is the thing. We'll get into that towards the end. I'll give you my opinion on it. But moving on from that, it looked really good though. If you like the first Talos Principles, there was a game called Neva. Looked kind of bland to me, man. It come out. It says 2024 was the release, but didn't give a specific date, and it's definitely third party, not first party. But yeah, it was one of those games that looked kind of bland, uninteresting to me. Next, bringing out the big guns with Cat Quest. It said it was a PS4 and a PS5 game, so it looks like we're still making games for previous generation. Okay. It says 2024 is the release, but didn't give a specific date. It's definitely third party, or I put down here third party possible. It didn't really say, but I think it is a third party game. Moving on from there, Sony went into their bag of tricks, and they pulled out a copy of something that Nintendo did already, and that game is called Foam Stars. I see people out here white knighting for this or saying, you know, don't count Foam Stars out, man. It looks pretty interesting. It is literally a copy-paste version of Splatoon. It says PS4, PS5, so they're not even just making it for the PS5, so believing in generations, I guess, is a thing of the past. And it didn't give no release date. So, I don't know. Not a fan. I don't like the... I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll give my opinions at the end. The next game is called, that they covered, The Plucky Squire. It was a 2023 release date, but it didn't give specifics. It is definitely a third-party game. It had really cool art style and interesting gameplay. More for like the younger audience, so it could be something that, you know, that gauges that younger audience. But moving on from that, another highlight of the show, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. They didn't give a release date, but it's third party. It's not first party games. So by this time, everyone's getting a little concerned. Even the fanboys out there getting a little concerned. And I know Xbox fanboys were probably celebrating still right now that the show wasn't that great. But it's just weird shit to me. Anyways, aside from the Snake Eater remake that's coming out, if I can stop stuttering, they announced Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, and it's coming out this autumn. So I'm excited about that. I don't know about y'all, but I'm definitely excited about the Master Collection. I'm definitely going to be copying that in autumn. I'm going to be copying it. Moving on from that, a game called Tower of Agaspa. I think that's how you pronounce it. It said it's going to be PS5 and PC release. It's coming out in 2024. But the interesting thing, I don't know if everyone caught this or not, because it said it down towards the bottom here in small letters. The gameplay that you saw there, it said that it was all captured on the PC. So it wasn't even running on the PS5. And I don't know, it looked really good. It's an open world, almost looked like a Zelda Breath of the Wild clone, but who knows? It looked interesting, but that they didn't really give too much details on it. Moving on from that, I think the most anticipated game, or one of the most anticipated games this year, Final Fantasy 16. They just showed more of the game. I'm wondering if FF16 is going to be a timed exclusive, though. Meaning, I know that there's no plans for the Xbox version, but I'm wondering if it's going to be timed for a PC release. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Moving on from that, another highlight of the show, Alan Wake 2, third-party game. It looked beautiful. They showed a little bit more detail, some gameplay of it. It looks awesome. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a day one purchase as well. October 17th. I think this was the first game that actually gave a specific release date. At least that's what I have written down here. I believe that's what it was. And then next up from there, another highlight for me was Assassin's Creed Mirage. And I have a gripe with Assassin's Creed games. I love the series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I'm replaying Origins right now. But my problem is, it seems like ever since Origin started, that's when they did a whole reevaluation of how the game plays. From that game on, they've kind of gotten away from the whole essence of Assassins, like of the Creed Brotherhood following a specific, assassin. They've kind of gotten away from that and I think lost their way in a lot of ways. And with Mirage, I wasn't excited about it when they first released, but with this showcase here, we got to see some gameplay. We knew where the setting was, but they're going back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. And it's something that I've been wanting them to do for many games now. And I'm glad that they're finally going back to that. So that's going to be a day one purchase as well. That's the second game that gave a specific date, which was October 12th of 23. Both Alan Wake 2 and AC Mirage 2023 releases this year. So October is going to be a fire-ass month for me, at least, with these two games. Moving on, both third-party also. But moving on from there, they showed a game called Remnant Hill. Looks like it's a cat game. Or there's cat mechanics, or you play as a cat partly through, maybe. I'm not sure. It said PS4, PS5 release. Didn't give a specific date, but I believe it's third party. So moving on from that, we have Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Not sure if that's a third party or not. It did say PS4, PS5 release, and it said winter of 2023. So a lot of these releases that are giving like a month, like winter or autumn, I'm more concerned whether or not those type of games, or those games rather, are gonna have maybe a delay. Sometimes that's I've been playing games pretty much my whole life, and when I see that, a lot of the times those games get delayed. So I guess we'll see, but it looked pretty decent. Looked like a JRPG game, so is what it is. Moving on from that, another highly anticipated game for a lot of fighting game enthusiasts, Street Fighter 6, third party game. I didn't write anything else other than third party. If you like Street Fighter, you're gonna like this. It is what it is. I'm not gonna cover that anymore. Moving from that, there was a game called Ultros. I think that's what it was called. It said it was a 2024 release. It was like a colorful side scroller type game. It looked pretty artistic, but they didn't show a lot of detail as to tell us what some of these games actually, or most of these games actually were, or what they were about. So there's not really a lot to go on. So moving on from that, a game called Tower of Fantasy. There was no release on the PlayStation. Believe it's already on Steam. It's free to play, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a third-party game as well. And then we got hit with another banger. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, I was super surprised. Dragon's Dogma 2. If you've played the first one, you're going to be excited for the second one. It gave no release time period at all. And of course, it's going to be third party. It's not going to be a first party title. And then the next couple games here are for the PlayStation VR 2. We jump into Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2, I believe is what it's called. It says it's late 23. It's a third-party game because it's going to come to Steam, obviously. All the other Five Nights are on there, so I wouldn't see why this one's going to be specifically exclusive to PlayStation. But it didn't say it, so. Moving on from that, for the PlayStation VR, Resident Evil 4 VR mode, it says that it's in development, so who knows how long it's going to take. I mean, it shouldn't take too long. Resident Evil 7, I believe, had a VR mode. If it wasn't on release on PlayStation, it may have been maybe 6 months after. Maybe. I could be wrong, but I don't remember it being very long. But the fact that it says the Resident Evil 4 VR mode is in development, maybe they're running into some development issues with trying to get it to run. Because it didn't say it was a specific VR game that you would get. It just said a VR mode. So I'm wondering if you have Resident Evil 4 remake already, that if you have it on the PlayStation, maybe there's a mode if you have your PlayStation VR 2 connected to where you could just play it from that game. I don't know. That's a lot of assumption, though. Another game that got announced, Arizona Sunshine 2. It's a third-party game, Arizona Sunshine 1 on the PC. You can get it on the Oculus app, on Steam. Few different places you can get it for. Arizona Sunshine 2. It's like a zombie VR game. Shooty, bang, bang. I have the first one. This one looked pretty okay, but it was just CGI. It wasn't even gameplay. And a good bit of these games here didn't show gameplay. Another game, moving on from that one, Crossfire Sierra Squad. Didn't give a release. I put 23 down here, so it probably said 2023, but not a specific date. Moving on from that, Crossfire Sierra Squad looked like it was like some sort of tactical, like, shooter. I don't know if it's going to be like, I don't know, like Ready or Not or something like that. But it was like I don't know, like a search and rescue, maybe like a Rainbow Six Siege type. I don't know. Not a lot of details. But moving on from that, a game called Synapsis. I think this game was the one where you were running around kind of using like force powers, picking up boxes, throwing them. I think it was like that. I'm not sure. It's a VR game. It wasn't really interesting for me. It said July 4th is the release date, but I believe it might be third party. And then the last game for PlayStation VR 2 was Beat Saber, finally. We got Beat Saber coming through. It's now available, so if you're watching this video and you didn't know that, right now you can get Beat Saber on the PlayStation VR. And, of course, it's third-party because Beat Saber's been on PC. But that's awesome that it's coming to the PlayStation. Next up, we have a game from Bungie. They are rebooting Marathon. It looks like it might be some sort of extraction shooter. Who knows what kind of game modes are going to be in it. They showed this, like, it looked like it was in-engined, but it wasn't gameplay, but it wasn't a CGI trailer either, so I don't really know what to make of it, but I believe it's some sort of extraction shooter that they're making Marathon into. It's going to be third party, though. It's not going to be first party, even though PlayStation owns Bungie now. So I think they might turn Marathon into some sort of live service game, too. Could be something. I think, it'd be interesting if they made Marathon something like Apex to compete with Apex, because you can say what you want. I know Apex is a BR, but it's much more than a BR. If you put Apex next to Warzone, they're completely different games, even though they're both considered battle royales. They're completely different, in my opinion. But moving on from that, they show Destiny's. I don't know if this is going to be just an update later down the road, if it's going to be a new expansion. I don't know, but Destiny 2, they showed the final shape, and I put down here, I don't know if it's an expansion. They didn't give a release date. Of course, it's going to be third party because Destiny 2 is on Epic Store. It's on Steam. It's on Xbox. So You get the drift. Moving on from that, got a game called Concord. It's at its PS5 and PC release. It's going to be in 2024, but no specifics. Oh boy, and then they went into, I think this is where they started to lose a lot of people after not seeing a lot of the first party games, not a lot of exclusives. This is where it took a turn, man. This is, by that time, I think everyone was like, what is going on here? But this is really where it took a turn. And if you're justifying this, if you're really like, oh, it wasn't that bad, it may not have been that bad, but this is a fucking PlayStation showcase, okay? So they moved on and they showed the Gran Turismo movie trailer. A movie trailer. Now this says PlayStation Showcase. This is supposed to be about the PlayStation games. It's supposed to be showcasing PlayStation. What can the PlayStation do? Sony shouldn't be putting in their fucking movies in a showcase that's supposed to be about video games, especially when in the beginning you have the president or the CEO of Sony coming out and mentioning how it's the third year. We're in the third year of the PlayStation 5. What do we really have to show for it right now? So they showed that. By that time, I'm like, what is going on? So they decided to move from the movie trailer into hardware. And instead of announcing some sort of portable handheld like a Vita 2 or something like that, they decided to go in the route of the Steam Deck, and they showed a PlayStation controller, screen controller, which is just a streaming device that you can stream your games from your PlayStation to the device. So, for example, if I have the PlayStation on and I'm playing, and someone's like, hey, I want to watch a movie, you can literally just turn the movie on and switch to this device that has a big-ass screen on it and just stream your games via Wi-Fi. I think this thing is going to be way overpriced. I think it's a poor choice of resources. I don't see the point of this, but I'm sure there's going to be some people that's out there white knighting for it. I'm sure there's some people that are super excited for this, but I'm not one of those people. Now, the next thing they showed was a pair of earbuds, wireless earbuds. Now, those look fire. The earbuds and the charging station look fire. I'm not going to lie. If the earbuds are about $100, $150, I might actually scoop them up. But anything higher than that, nah, man. I'm not invested into that. It is what it is. And then after that, that's when they decided, I think Jim Ryan's his name. I think Jim Ryan come out and said about the final game. And if you're paying attention to anything this year with PlayStation, we know what the final game was. The final game was Spider-Man 2. You say what you want, but the gameplay, they showed a lot. In my opinion, they showed a lot of the game. It was running in 30 frames. There was a lot of motion blur. A lot of motion blur. A couple spoilers, I think. In my opinion, they spoiled a lot of things in just that showcase. That 10-minute, I think it was, showcase that they made. One big spoiler was the symbiote suit for Spider-Man, for Peter's Spider-Man, not Miles. But they spoiled it like he has it now. I think that's a huge fucking spoiler. Why would you show Spider-Man as that? Like, the trailer prior to this, to hype up this game, it showed nothing or showed any kind of indication that Peter was going to get this suit at all. And now you're showcasing powers and different moves with him wearing it. I think there was a huge story spoiler. I think more importantly on top of that, though, they showed the big bad, which was what everyone was speculating back when the trailer first launched, which was Kraven. They showed him as the big bad. And I'm just like, what are they doing with this? Like, it doesn't have to be 10 minutes of Spider-Man. They're showing a big chunk of this game as far as like a mission goes, but I think that's a lot. Like, I think they're really spoiling the game a bit. What else do I have written down here? Oh, it says the release was fall of this year, so the release date's going to be fall of this year. But here's the one thing that I don't like. In the beginning trailer, the first trailer they showed of Spider-Man 2, they hyped up Venom. You see nothing about Venom in this gameplay trailer that they showed. Nothing. No reference to him. Peter isn't talking about him. There's no mention of him. And more importantly, though, I'm thinking, why aren't they utilizing like Green Goblin or Hobgoblin? We're going to Kraven? Like, I mean, it was a predictable thing. Everyone was saying Kraven, but why is there no Hobgoblin or Green Goblin when you had these people in the previous game? Maybe they're in there, and maybe they're going to be just using them as mini bosses or side bosses. I don't know, but I think Kraven being the big bad in this game was not the move. But I could be wrong. When it comes out, I'll play it, obviously, but I don't know. Another thing I have written down here is I'm wondering, since there was no Green Goblin or Hobgoblin in the 10-minute or 12-minute gameplay reveal that they showed, I'm wondering if they're going to set up like a third game and they're going to use Green Goblin or Hobgoblin or both of them as the main baddies there. I definitely think this is going to be a setup for a third game just based on what I've seen. But who really knows? And I also have written down here is how long in between releases do they come to PC? So we have Miles Morales and we have Spider-Man 2019 or whenever it came out. We already have them on PC, so I'm wondering now, how long between the release of the PlayStation version is it gonna be released on PC? Is it gonna be a year? Is it gonna be 3 months? Is it gonna be 6 months? Is it gonna be a month? Is it gonna be? I don't think it's gonna be day and date. They just don't have the infrastructure at the moment to do day and date, I don't believe. But I'm just kind of curious how long in between the release on the PlayStation is it going to be released on the PC. And out of all of this, I would say the only thing you could say is that's an exclusive is Spider-Man 2 at this moment. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole conference. There was nothing other than a couple things that kind of wowed me. Even the Spider-Man 2 stuff, for me, it didn't wow me. I mean, the gameplay that I saw was still, I think what it is it's just a lot. It's a lot more of Spider-Man. It's a lot of the same. And I know they introduced the symbiote suit and he has some different moves and all this shit, but it's just more the same. We had Spider-Man, we had Miles Morales, and now we have this with Miles Morales and Spider-Man. You're swapping in between them. In the gameplay, it looked like, at least in this mission, you're weaving in and out and playing one and, you know, transitioning to playing in the other and so on and so forth. I mean, that could be cool, I guess, but I'm wondering, I think what would be cooler is if you were able to swap to either one at any given time, kind of like Grand Theft Auto 5, how you can swap in between the three. I think that would be a pretty cool thing if you're going to have both Spider-Man in the game, because I don't believe there's going to be co-op. I think they announced that there's no co-op in the game. I think it's still a single-player game, which I'm fine with. I'm cool with the single-player games. I like single-player games, but I don't know, man. I'm not disappointed in the Spider-Man 2 stuff, other than I think the story, a lot of the story stuff, they spoiled with the suit and Kraven, and other than that, the Spider-Man showcase wasn't that bad. Aside from if I'm ignoring completely the 30 frames a second, if I ignore that, then I think it was an okay thing. But there was no mention of Wolverine, no update on it. I think they set this up months ago before E3 had been canceled, because this definitely feels like an E3 presentation versus a PlayStation presentation. So I guess we'll see what Xbox has in store for us. I think on the 11th is when theirs is going to be aired. So we'll see what they have. But I can tell you this. Just today, I saw Xbox, before anyone else, I saw Xbox reveal gameplay, like a little over a minute gameplay teaser of Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, and I gotta tell you, I think I was more excited about that than I think anything else that I've seen so far from the PlayStation Showcase. So if Xbox is going to bring things like that, and if they bring a lot of first-party exclusive type things going to the PC and the Xbox, then, you know, they're going to have it in the bag. But as far as Sony goes, it wasn't great. I didn't go in with any expectation, but I definitely came out going, what the hell happened? So it is what it is, man. But that's the video. If you liked it, if you liked this kind of content, let me know down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. But it's been your boy, it's been real, and I'm out. Later.